Alright guys, Bucket Hat reports live with some random bullshittery. We're going to teach you how to make mead, the oldest alcoholic drink known to mankind, aka the drink of the gods, aka Bruno or prison wine. So simple ingredients. You're going to need a big ass jar. Big jar with nice lid to get some oxygen in so we can formulate yeast. Distilled water. Anything else besides distilled water has other things like fluoride in it and it will kill the yeast. Your magic stick, it's an all wooden stick. You don't clean this bitch because it's going to eventually cultivate your own form of yeast. We're going to need some balloons, something to poke a tiny hole in the balloons, all honey, straight honey, and you can use any sugar, carbohydrates like barley, grass, fucking rice, wheat, sugar, sugar cane, honey, as long as it's not processed. And this is the far end distilling process. After we like stir that shit up for a couple days, this is what's going to be the actual formulating of the alcohol. So right now, the concept is that we took this stuff that we made in there. We'll make that shortly. After like a couple months, or not months, like weeks, there's this thing called crevasse that goes up to the top. It's all yeast, basically. It looks nasty, and you're going to be pushing it down every day. One day you'll see it all at the bottom. Then you can strain it with some hoses. Where's those hoses at? Siphon that shit off with some hoses. Put it in one of these. Smack a balloon on it. If you see that it's blowing air, this is perfect. This is an air seal. Pretty ghetto air seal. So the concept is all the yeast is eating the sugar, turning the sugar into ethanol, and then it produces gas. The gas is not good. If this had a cap, this would explode. So it pushes this out. You have one hole, so it's pushing all the air out. That's why it's a erect. Once you see that it's gone, that means your alcohol is good. If you get any oxygen in this process, like this is a seal, all the air is pushing out. There's no room for air to come in. But if air does come in, this turns into vinegar. So before we head off to the store to go get our fruit, you'll see all this nasty shit at the bottom. You'll see bubbling. You'll see all that stuff. I mean, I like these containers because you can still like stir the yeast in these containers and the big ones. But that's all yeast and sediment. If you ever get like sake, like non-filtered sake, you'll see it if you put it in the fridge. It clouds at the bottom. That's all natural yeast. You take this, make vinegar, make bread with it. So that's the end process. This is after weeks and weeks of stirring this shit every day until like you see this stuff goes down. Now we wait every day, just shake it if you want, and then we wait months. It takes however long until this goes whew, and then we got to take that bitch out. So we're gonna go to the store, go get some fruit, and fill this bitch up with some honey, water, and some fruit, and stir it around. Get the process going. All right, guys. So we're outside. Was too late to do this yesterday, but it's a nice ass day today, and this is what we got. We got oranges, apples, lemons. This is going to make it taste like a Red's Hard apples or cider. Something like an orange lemonade like type of like taste. And this is going to make a, I want to believe like a Mike's Hard Lemonade. So goal is first we're going to determine how much actual liquid we want in this before we fill this up. So let's pop open this cap. Hey. So you don't need like a fancy jar like this. This is just because, I wanted to reuse it over and over again. But you could use like a gallon cut in half or any real container. as long as it has enough space for the oxygen. These are bought at the store, so they have pesticides. If you used fresh fruit, that would be better. So we're going to have to give them a wash. Preferably, you wouldn't want to wash your fruit if it's all natural because they all have yeast. But depending on your, surroundings where you live, everything has yeast on it. Rocks, it's all in the air, everything. We're just going to dump this whole thing in there. That's all energy. That's all going to be produced into alcohol. So since we're going to wash our fruit, that's going to take off all the pesticides and the natural yeast inside that's been on it. That's okay though, because this is all just chilling out here with the cap open, it's going to be collecting the natural yeast in the air. So it's just... if you don't want to waste all this honey, you want to get all this extra, just pour a little bit more water in this, shake this up and turn this into honey water, and then pour the rest in. So how I got interested into making this is our next door neighbor was the Ethiopian family. The old lady, while I was on a smoke break, came out. She gave me a bottle of it looked like that, literally. And she didn't speak English at all, so she's just like, here, drink it. And I was like, okay. And I drank it, it tastes like straight honey, right? Drank the whole bottle, blacked the fuck out. Turns out it was alcohol called tesh. It's the national drink of Ethiopia, made with gesho bark and all that. So I asked her, I was like, how the fuck did you make it, of course, right? She said it's water, honey, and gesho bark. And then I looked up how to make alcohol, and it turns out it's just mead. So honey, distilled water. Ancient people would use rainwater as a natural distillate, and then whatever the fuck you can use rocks, this grass, whatever the hell you want as your flavoring in there, as long as it's natural. But we're gonna wash these real quick, and then you could cut them up and just throw them right in. I highly suggest taking out the seeds. But what I want to test out is I'm gonna crush all these up and make them into a pulp, so it has more surface area, and then that will be able to break down. So the yeast has an easier time to break down the flavors. And we're going to be throwing in all the peels and the fruits, because the peels have like the zest flavors and everything. So once we wash this and get these into pulps, we're going to be throwing it into there. Alright guys, so we washed our fruits, and then make sure you dry them off well, because if you use actual water, you should be washing your shit in distilled water, because like I said, tap water has fluoride and all that, and that kills yeast and bacteria and all that. So we have our magic stick, we have our water and honey solution, but it needs to be mixed, thoroughly mixed. Stir that shit around. Cool thing about these jars is that you can look on the bottom and see if you missed anything until you're done. But it should be a nice golden color. And then we have all these plastic bags. You could just cut these up, honestly, and just throw them in whole. But I've been doing that, and I want to test out mashes. So I'm going to put all these fruits in a bag, crush the shit out of them into a nice pulp, and then I'm going to throw it in there. So anyone does cocaine or something, you don't snort a whole rock, you have to crush it up into little pieces, right? And that's my thought process, is that if it's more surface area, then it should produce a more stronger taste and extract the sugar faster. So stir this shit, and then we'll get back to the pouring of the mash. Caveman status is all done. Smash the shit out of it on these rocks. If you wanted to, take out the seeds and all that. I don't care. I don't think there's enough seeds in this to like concentrate some cyanide for us to die, so take all this, take this mash, put it in the pot. Nice. So as you see, all these little pieces has surface area and everything, more surface area. I mean, if you truly wanted to, you could just blend this. But I don't have a blender, so I'm going caveman again. Still have more. This is going to give us that citrus. I need these lemons smashed in there. And also it saves more space like this, because you're going to need a more breathing room, because when the crevasse starts building up, there's a chance that if you fill it up to the top, the crevasse overflows and then makes a big ass mess. So you want some head space. Fucking caveman shit. Quote, motherfucker. Oh! Alright guys, so we're done with our second batch of mash. Pour all this shit in. Oh! Ooh, it's making a mess. Put all that in there. Yeah, get in there. So we have all our fruits now, fruit mash inside the jar. The one thing is you're going to be stirring this every day, because you cannot let this top just stay stagnant in air, or else it's going to develop mold. Big pieces like this, you really want everything under the water. So if you could try to have everything under the water line, that would be perfect, because that reduces the chances of mold starting to form. Mold forms on things that are exposed to free air. But obviously, this ain't no exact science. So, I want to say this is just going to be fine, because every day you wake up, you are going to be pushing this down, making sure that this top layer is always being refreshed so the bottom comes up, and that doesn't give the time to actually formulate any mold colonies. So remember, we're basically done. We're going to put our cap on this bitch. You would put like a cloth cap, something that would let the air in, because we do need air and the natural yeast all around us to get inside this to cultivate a colony. What I do is I just go like this, put this bitch in my closet, and you'll see every day you wake up, stir this bitch. Every night you go to sleep, stir this bitch. It's a relationship. Use the same stick. Don't wash it. And then, eventually you'll see within days all this starts bubbling up. You'll see a thick layer, again, crevasse. If you don't have enough breathing room, it will overflow and make a fucking mess. If you see that crevasse layer, it looks fucking nasty. It's like, I don't want to put you off, but it's natural stuff. But it looks nasty, and if you see it, that means it's working. So you just keep on pushing that down until one day you'll see the layer all the way down there. But we'll catch that on the other part when that actually comes. This is Bucket Hat Reports on the introduction on how to make alcohol, specifically mead. If you didn't want to make mead, you could use the same process, distilled water, and rice for sake, or potatoes for vodka, or agave for tequila. You get what I mean? But this is the simplest in my mind. It's just honey, water, and some fruits, and it tastes the best. So stay smart out here, guys. Also, you can make vinegar with this, bread, alcohol, of course, and then if you want to take it a little step further, you could distill it and make fuel and other things like moonshine. So we'll see where we take this. This is a nice little side adventure, and we'll see if it makes any good drinks. And I also kind of think it's funny that not to talk about the system, but if you're on that EBT food stamps, you can't buy alcohol, but you could buy the ingredients to make it. So like I said, guys, finished product, well, starting product. This is essentially to formulate a yeast colony. We are going to need, if you wanted to, you could wrap like a shirt around this rubber band so no fucking bugs get in it and it gets oxygen in and out. I don't have fucking bugs in my house right now. The fuck. So I just leave it like this. Let the oxygen get inside the thing, the yeast inside, the oxygen around you. Depending on where you at, depends on the type of yeast you're gonna get. So like this is made in Nevada. This is even if you use the same ingredients and you made it in like California, it won't taste the same. But every day, wake up, stir this shit. Make sure the top goes to the bottom. When you go to sleep, stir this shit. Make sure the top goes to the bottom. You'll see bubbles, crevasse, go up to the top, get real nasty. Get this headspace so it doesn't overflow, make a mess. And then once actually shows down to the bottom, I'll show you the straining system, the straining part, how to, basically we just take all this shit out. Take a hose, siphon all this, and then hopefully you kept the same containers that you used because you're going to need them later. And then once we formulate our yeast and get all that, then we'll put them into these bottles in the next video and show you how to actually start formulating alcohol. And before I forget, guys, before like we finally leave, keep these things in the dark. For things to ferment, they prefer darkness, little caves and whatnot. Room temperatures, so like 60s to 80s. If it's too hot, they start dying, and if it gets too cold, the yeast stops working. So dark places, and let it do its thing.